morning. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Apologies, guys. We got stuck in traffic on our way over, which is a new experience in Gilliam County. So the chair notes there is a quorum present. Let's do the flag salute. It is right between two flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's go into 2.0, which is additions and revisions to the agenda.
Yes, I have an addition to the agenda.
Okay.
Under 6.3, I would like to add consider approval of letter of recommendation for waste management.
Okay. Anything else, folks? Okay, if not, let's move into 3.0, which is correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. For folks who are dialing in on your phone, it is *6 to unmute yourself. If you are on your computer screen, it's the lower left-hand side of the Zoom. And then as a reminder, we are very informal here. So as we move through the agenda, if there's an item or multiple items that you want to ask questions about or comment on, we welcome that too. Any public comments at this point?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Just state your name for the record and take it away, whoever wants to go first.
Thanks. Chad Crowther with Port of Arlington, 100 Port Island Road. Just want to give a brief update for port activities that are involved with Gilliam County as well. One is the Proctor parcel. We're well underway and on target for closing on that property June 15th. As far as workforce housing goes, we have 2 projects that are in line for that, including the Proctor property and the Old Condon Grade School. Just took ownership from the city of Condon to the Port of Arlington Environmental Sentry Corps for the grade school. We have a tour there tomorrow to begin our meeting at 5 o'clock in Condon. We also have a workshop for our strategic business plan tomorrow. Anybody's welcome to come and attend if you'd like to. I think I'll stop there.
That's quite a bit.
Thank you.
Just a few items.
So workshop at the grade school?
Yeah. It's at the city hall
City Hall.
Oh, okay.
at 5:30.
Is that the third one?
The second.
Second.
All right, you want to go, David?
Yeah, I'm David Greiner from Mayville. I'm here on behalf of Summit Springs Village to ask some questions about our request at the operational support grant. Do you want me to address that now or when you come to that item?
It's up to you. Do you guys want to wait until we get to?
Probably let's do it when we get to the item, if you don't mind waiting.
That's fine by me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other public comments at this point? Go ahead, Chris.
Is this working?
No.
Okay,
No.
that's why I came here. Usually I just keep working and zoom in, but I'll just stay then.
The
No
Zoom
problem.
is working.
Oh,
So
Zoom, but the TV is not working to show the Zoom, but the Zoom itself is functioning.
yeah.
I'll go back.
Okay.
I can connect. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you probably tried to connect earlier when we hadn't started.
And some things. So, and there were some people online, but I was having trouble.
Got it. Okay, any other public comments at this point? If not, we will move into correspondence. There's just a couple of items. There's the capital investment grant program final report from the city of Arlington. We'll be getting a lot of these as the fiscal year wraps up. So for folks who are interested in seeing how the competitive grant dollars that the county administers every year are spent, we ask that the recipients report in around this time. And so for folks who would like to see how those monies were spent, there's a report. It'll be included with the court packet materials. The other thing is a thank you letter and receipt from the Vietnam War Memorial Fund. Just as a reminder, a couple of meetings back, we approved a donation to help support the new war memorial that they are building in Salem for the Vietnam veterans. That is all I have under correspondence. Let's move into consent agenda. Any questions on that?
I do not have any.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of April 19th regular meeting minutes, consider approval of May 3rd, 2023 regular meeting minutes, consider approval of amendment number 1 to intergovernmental office space lease with ODOT, consider appointment of Miranda Rees to Gilliam County Cultural Trust Coalition effective May 17th, 2023 through June 30th, 2026, and consider approval of law enforcement services contract with Bureau of Land Management. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's move into point 1 under unfinished business, which is the Gilliam County Public Health Update. Daleen is on, but Leah, do you want to kick things off or do you want?
I think Daleen, are you? Is she,
I see she's on there. She has not unmuted yet.
okay. So it looks like the program element updates are the PE 62 overdose, and she's working on the fentanyl and Narcan training at the end of the month. And I know that she has somebody, but I'm not sure the most recent updates on that. So, and I think she did have an update on that. You'll begin seeing the emails regarding the end of the fiscal year, reporting due on various program elements. And then she's been working through the work plans and budgets on those. And then the WIC funding letter that was attached to our update. They originally assigned 40 to the caseload, even though North Central Public Health had never had that high. And so, and now and I think 24, I believe somewhere on here, 24 is the most they've ever had. So then they lowered it to 30. So,
well, when you look at that, you've got 40 for 23 and 30 for 24.
yeah, so next year there's 30.
30.
So, yeah.
Is that actual cases?
Yeah, 24 is the most cases, I believe, Bailey said.
And Daleen.
And they have WIC today, so in Arlington, so she may, and I think Dr. Edwards was in the clinic this morning too, so.
Daleen, do you want to?
Yeah, hi, sorry, you guys moved right along and I walked off for a second and we're right here, so I apologize. So yeah, if you're looking at the WIC numbers, they just kind of picked a number last year to give us a target, even though we had hesitations on being able to get to the 40 because the current caseload with NCPHD was less than that. And so when they were looking at the numbers and what we were able to do the past few months, they still set the bar a little high, but so we're working towards that 30 goal, but with the understanding, yes, I think the most that we've had since we started were 24 participants.
And you guys are doing WIC today in Arlington, right?
Yes, we are.
And I know that you thanked me on this update, but I would like to say thank you to you for stepping up and everything that you've been doing. So I think all the staff at the clinic has been just awesome. So
Good.
let's get that out there.
Thank you. Everybody's working hard.
Yes, they are. So do you have anything else?
I did not, but if you guys have questions for me about any of it, shoot away.
Will you update them a little bit on the fentanyl thing, the speaker that's coming?
So, yes, I've got a speaker that is a sergeant that, well, what happened yesterday, we're gonna have to reschedule the first one. We've already come into a little scheduling snafu, but we've got a sergeant that's gonna come up to do a training in Arlington and then another one in Condon as well. And we're going to make them a community event and also hold some time for the responders. So like fire department, EMS, and law enforcement to have kind of a further in-depth discussion about, you know, trends, what to expect, what they're seeing and things like that. But the community portion will just be more of like a basic overview to highlight, you know, what's happening and what to look out for.
Good. So do you know, when are they gonna schedule that then? Do you know?
Well, we're supposed to spend the funds by the end of June. So we're hoping to have all of them done by the end of June.
Okay.
Right now, we've got one scheduled for Wednesday, the 31st of May. But that might have to be pushed back a little bit too, and I'll know more by the end of this week, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Daleen, has the state indicated when we will be seeing the new agreement for the upcoming biennium, or is that gonna have to wait until after the legislature wraps up? Have they told you?
I do not have any information on that. I've not seen anything that's come through the emails, and Leah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know, you know, I'm on kind of the administrator's emails now too, but I can't say that I've seen any of that yet. I know with some of the programs, and it is more around the funding, not necessarily like the agreements, but they're doing some like bridge funding to allow for more time that gets them to pretty much September. So it might be more postponed based on the bridge funding that they're doing. But that's a guess. I don't know that for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything come through on my emails either. And there's like tons of them that come through.
it wouldn't surprise me if they wait until after the legislature wraps, I guess, because that will be their funding, you know, how much they have to disperse. So, but I just wasn't, they have mentioned that. Any,
Little hung up at this point.
yeah, a little bit. Any questions for Daleen or Leah from either the commissioner, the court, or the public?
I'm good.
Me too. Good work, Daleen. Thank you for keeping it afloat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, let's move into new business. 6.1 is consider award of fiscal year 2023-2024 operational support grants. Just to recap, and then we can get into the specifics of the recommendations. So back on May 2nd, the budget committee met. You guys both know, you were part of that. This is for the public's edification. Met as part of their approval of the budget. They also did the review of the operational support grant applications. They received those, they were basically in the form of recommendations from our grant, competitive grant review committee, which consisted of former Commissioner Wilkins and Delaney. And then at that time, the budget committee approved funding the grant request at the levels that were recommended and with the conditions that were recommended by the competitive grant review committee. So the task today is for the court to determine if it wants to make any final adjustments before we move forward with approving those, so that we can get grant agreements out to the applicants. And would you like us to walk through each of them, or do we want to just take Summit Springs?
I think,
I'm okay with, I just thought we ought to open it up for public if there's anybody that had anything.
Got it.
I'm good with where we're at. But I think Mr. Griner would like to speak to the Summit Springs.
Talk to us about Summit Springs.
Okay, thank you. I've been meaning to come and thank you folks for your support in the past. We've been receiving the operational support grant for a lot of years. to the tune of $150,000, and that has, it has kept the place afloat. And we greatly appreciate that. And also through the special projects grant, that has helped us to finance a new generator, which costs $69,000. We've got a commercial dishwasher, computers, and medication carts. And so I just can't tell you how much we appreciate this from you folks to approve those. I've seen, am I correct that the budget committee gives recommendations and you folks can adjust those recommendations? Is that right?
Yeah, so we have a grant review committee that does the initial recommendations. That was Sherry and Delaney. That went to the budget committee on May 2nd. They approved those recommendations to be forwarded to the court. And then the court makes the final decision on funding levels and basically says to me, go sign the grant agreements and do all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I saw that they cut our funding for the request for $150,000 to $75,000. I would like to ask you folks if you could please get that back up to the 150,000, and I have some reasons here.
Great.
That the stipulation or that it said in there, the reason for cutting it in half, our request in half, was we're close to achieving full occupancy, we're actively seeking other funding, and we're becoming less dependent upon county funding. All those are true. Currently, the ALF has 19 residents. It can have 22. The assisted living facility. The memory care unit has 6 residents. That is at full capacity due to, I think they could have 8, but it depends on staffing. Those people need more care. So we are doing really well as far as our occupancy is concerned. The grant was submitted in April. Our budget had already been approved and done. And in February, Hannah Bass came to our meeting in February and said, we have got to up the wages for the employees. We have 25 employees at Summit Springs Village, and we upped all those wages by 10%. That doesn't reflect in our budget. That came to a cost of $69,000. All the employees right now are receiving $17 per hour. That's not great, but that's where we are in that. Those people definitely, you folks know how hard it is to get good employees, and that has helped out immensely to raise those people's wages. This year, 2023, a state-funded program entitled Wage Add-on Program for Medicaid residents is going to come to an end. That program enabled Summit Springs Village to increase wages to all employees who care for Medicaid residents to $15 per hour. Currently, Summit Springs Village has 6 residents on Medicaid and the MCU has 1. That increase helped out to get those people at $15 per hour. Because that is going away, Summit Springs Village is going to have to take on that wage increase that was state funded. Let's see. And to address the actively seeking other funding, I have been in contact with these programs or these foundations, the Oregon Community Foundation, the Ford Family Foundation, and the Meyer Memorial. I have just done that through phone calls, and to put it mildly, that doesn't sound very promising. None of those sound very promising, but I am still looking at those or trying to see what we can do with those folks. Hannah Bass, our administrator, applied for a grant from Small Business Micro Enterprise Assistant Grant for $30,000, and that grant request was denied. Just to give you a little bit of update too about what we're trying to do for repairs. 2 years ago in July, a major leak in our fire system occurred and caused some major damage to one of the residents' room. Summit Springs Village is currently repairing all the piping to the fire system under the direction of Fire Systems West. Their quote for replacing all the pipe is rusting out, so that won't occur again, is for the amount of $187,541. We're getting those, we've got those repairs done to where we're safe right now, but we've still got to replace all that piping. And we've done some repairs to the amount of close to $32,000 so far. New steps have been constructed in front of the L for $12,500. We have increased our rates in both the L, the assisted living, and in the memory care unit to 10%. Hannah Bass has said, and she's right about this, in my opinion, in order to warrant those rate increases, we've got to make that place look good. People have to come in and say, this looks nice. And so carpeting, furniture, painting has to be done to make that place look like this is worth another 10% rate or increase. We're also working on the grounds, trying to get those grounds look nice. Anyway, I gave you my spiel here. I just would hope you could see to raise that up to that $150,000.
So question, is the fire system in the budget for this year?
Let me think about that, Pat. I can't answer that question for you.
I mean, that's a big spend.
Yeah, it is.
should be,
Yeah,
and it would go in under capital rather than
Yeah.
operational.
I can't answer that question. for
Anyway,
you,
it'd have
Pat.
to be, it'd be a different
Right
grant.
now.
Capital's open now year round on a rolling basis, correct?
Yes.
It is.
So,
So one of the things I wonder, David, if maybe, so what we're trying to do gradually is for folks who have depended on us operationally, as you know, we're trying to like move towards sustainability.
You bet.
Because the idea at some point, the SIPs will go away and we want to make sure that all of our partners are still on solid ground when
You
that
bet.
happens. So I'm wondering, is part of the reason, like if the county came in and paid for the building upgrades, do you think you would have enough, you know, if we take that off your plate, basically, if we fix your water system or your sprinkler system, if we help replace the carpets, you know, those kinds of building upgrades that you need, do you think you would still need the full 150 on the operational side? Or if we can take off sort of the facility side for you, is there enough in your budget to be able to meet your commitments to your staff and the level of service that you want to provide? See what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes,
I think what we're maybe leaning toward is supporting you, but in a different way. So like, rather than us paying for the staff that's in the building, I mean, we'll pay obviously for what we committed here, but if we were to pay for the building upgrades, which would then pull that out of your budget, so that you don't need to spend, you know, people's rent and stuff on doing that, could this 175 get you where you need to be so that your staff are taken care of and all of that kind of stuff? I think is the question.
yeah, with that, and then the surplus was 181,000. And I would assume that part of that will be spent between now and the end of the fiscal year, but there's 181,000 in surplus funds in the bank, which looks like you're beginning to get more sustainable.
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And I
Yeah,
think that was where, as on the grant review committee, we looked at, you know, your current numbers that you reported were 6 out of the 6 outdoor livings were rented, and your break even was 6 out of 6. Your 16 out of 22 for your ALP, and you were at 19 of 22. And then you were at 5 of 7, and you need 6 of 7 in the memory care. And so I think that was where we were looking at your sustainable numbers were really there. So I think that was part of why we looked at those numbers specifically for that recommendation as well, and talked about funding your capital investment projects, so your building upgrades, as a way to help offset some of the costs for that, like Judge Farrar was just explaining.
Yeah, so one, I want to commend like you and Hannah, because
Yeah.
we started like 4 years ago when I first came in, and Summit Springs, I think, was like at a kind of breaking point on whether it was going to survive, honestly.
Right.
And you guys did the work. You got a great administrator in who knew her stuff, and like your capacity numbers from when you and I started working on the sustainability to now are, you've done exactly what we've asked you to do, kind of, is really buckle down getting residents and all of that kind of stuff. So I think part of what we're struggling with is like, we obviously want you still there. We wouldn't have invested you all this time if we didn't want that. I think we're struggling on like, if you're hitting your capacity numbers, the number of residents that you think you need to break even, like, to us, that means you've hit kind of where you need to be, right? You're sustainable. If that's not the case, or if that needs to be adjusted, I think we just need to have a discussion about like, okay, actually our sustainability for the ALF is closer to 20 residents, or, you know, whatever it is. But I think the other thing is like really looking at your budget and shifting those building expenses out of your operational in terms of like what you're paying for through rent. Let us like come through the competitive grant and ask us to fund those. Because one, I mean, we were happy to do that. I think we feel like that's a more sustainable model for the SIP, because you're not counting on us to cover employees' salaries, which is what has us nervous, honestly, about when the SIPs roll off. We don't want to see a lot of people suddenly losing their job because the county doesn't.
And that's across the board, not just some.
Yeah, not just you, it's our child care providers, everybody. We're concerned about making sure that from a employment standpoint, your budget is in a place where once the SIP money goes away, no one's laying off people. Like, that's what we're trying to avoid ultimately. So one of the ways we've done that is asking like, hey, if you have building needs, come ask us for those, because you're not going to lay off people 10 years from now if we are no longer able to cover your building stuff. You will be if you're counting on us to cover your wages. So I'm wondering on this one in particular, if maybe we want to maybe connect with, we could approve the others and move them and kind of maybe dial in with David and me and Delaney and Hannah about like, if some of the costs in your budget, we could switch to another funding stream, which is our operation or our capital investment. And then we can make sure that this number, whether it's 75 or more, will cover what you actually need on the operation side, paying your people, keeping the lights on, all of that kind of stuff, insurance, all of the things. Does that sound?
That's what I think, that, you know, that the goal is to become sustainable operationally. And the cost of capital will be a one-time spend long term. There may be some every year, but it'd be long, and you're working towards sustainability. I think with that much in reserves, looks pretty good. So, yeah, I think if you could pull the capital out of your operating.
Yeah, like I'm reading here, the branch line piping for your fire project, that project hasn't been completed yet,
No.
right? That 187,000 is still pending.
Correct.
So that could fall under a capital investment grant, that project right there, where you could apply and ask for the county to pay for a portion of that project. That's a great project example for that program.
And it would make up the difference in what you're asking for.
More
I
than,
mean,
Yeah,
When is that one?
it's open now, it's on a rolling basis, so you guys could apply for that now.
How much do you think we could get for that?
I mean, you could apply, let me look at
the match is,
Let me look at the project. 'Cause it's dependent.
it would be related to like the housing. So the match is at 25%, I think.
so.
It's
So we would-
25%.
So we would pick up 20 or 75%
Of that.
of that project,
Mhm.
which actually, if you did that, I mean, I was not a math person, but you would be money ahead.
Yeah. Rather than, correct,
Yeah,
It's
rather than our just operational.
exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't we,
Should we approve the 75 for now and then come back and see if we need to adjust it later?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so you have the guaranteed 75, but we may adjust it upward
We
if we
could,
need to.
we could, if you can show us that you can't make it operationally, come back and make a case for that by pulling the capital out.
Okay,
Well, let's-
So
I
it's
think if you
still-
pull
Can
the
we do
capital,
it with
David, I
the
think.
agreement
by-
to,
if you
it
pull the
may be
capital, I
amended
think it'd be
later?
Good shape. I mean, it's gonna be a piece of
Yeah.
cake.
So I think what we're proposing is that we would approve them as currently recommended. But the three of us and Hannah will connect, kind of dig into the numbers and the different funding streams and make sure that the 75 can work if we're picking up the cost on some of these capital projects. So
I mean, we
you're-
get
you're
it on
fired.
the labor and that stuff, and we don't wanna, we understand that.
And then assuming that everything looks good after we do that, we'll keep it at the 75, but if we look at those numbers and Hannah's like, no, this is really not gonna work. Then I think the court is saying like, come back to us and we can adjust that number upward.
okay,
Thing.
so it's still open.
So it's still open
Alright,
for you, like the rest
Well,
of them, I think.
We'll
will move
approve the
forward.
75 and leave it as,
And then we'll
we can amend it
TBD
if we need it.
We need more.
Because I got a meeting with the board today and I go back to them and tell them that this is
Yes.
okay, that I didn't fail in my duty.
You did
Yeah.
not
Alright,
fail.
okay.
But
That we might even get more money with the capital investment.
yes,
Yeah,
but that
you
we want to
really
kind of
need to
be
pull the
creative.
capital out of your operating budget
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
and make that
yeah,
request.
I'm not good with budgets. Yeah,
Hannah will understand.
Yeah, we can sit down though, and we'll just walk you, really what we're saying is like, we want to support you, but we're thinking that there may be a better funding
Okay.
stream to support the facilities needs.
because what we were getting the operational support grant, of course, did you know, is that to help out with wages, so we can pull from other places to help out, like for repairs.
Correct.
Because we're not a public entity, we can do things like that with
Yeah.
our budget, yeah. Yeah.
But what we're saying is don't pull from those for your repairs, come and ask us
Come ask you.
for,
Okay.
to cover your repairs,
Alright.
and then,
And that's, David, that's a rolling deal. You can do it at any time, make that request.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's similar
What
to,
do you mean by that, Pat?
You can make that request
capital.
anytime throughout the year.
Oh, really?
yeah.
there's no
it's
deadline.
similar, like, how you get special-
We've changed that. So,
Oh,
so all you need to do is figure out what that capital need is and
income.
Delaney can help. you.
Whenever it's ready, we can
Alright.
do those, yeah.
That's called the capital investment grant.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
And
that's
then,
for
you
this.
know,
that's specifically for those type of things.
and for
That
some of your
building
smaller
improvements
projects,
and-
like your
and
flooring. or
long-term
something like
repairs.
that,
Yeah,
That might fall under a special projects grant, because it's 30,000 and under is a special projects grant. Anything over 30 would be a capital investment grant.
okay, gotcha.
So what
Okay.
we can do is we'll just set up a meeting, we'll walk through with you all of your capital needs,
Okay,
where you are operationally, and then we'll figure out which funding streams are gonna fit best with which projects you have.
okay,
And then, once we kind of know where each of those silos, which silo is gonna take which project, then we'll zero in on whether this 75,000 is enough on the operational, so what you need to pay your staff. Once we take all of the building facilities needs into a different
Your
funding stream.
operational is gonna be your food and your
right,
lights and
yeah,
labor and
yeah,
insurance and all those things.
yeah. Okay, okay, good,
Well, I think we're saying you have our support. We're just gonna
Okay.
figure out how to do it
a
creatively.
little bit better.
Yeah.
Possible, okay, thanks a lot, I appreciate this very much.
Any other
Sounds
questions?
to me like you're gonna come out on the better end of the deal.
Let us give you more money.
Okay.
It was a productive meeting, David.
Okay.
It's worth your drive.
It was worth my drive. Good
Oh,
enough.
wait.
Yeah.
For the drive.
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions on the competitive grants or feedback?
I would move to approve the fiscal year 2023-2024 operational support grant awards and conditions as approved by the Gilliam County Budget Committee and authorize the county judge to finalize and execute grant agreements reflecting the same.
Do we need language in there about the Summit Springs?
We'll just do it like our other amendment ones where we come back.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the fiscal year 2023-2024 operational support grant awards and conditions as approved by the Gilliam County Budget Committee, and to authorize the county judge to finalize and execute grant agreements reflecting the same. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I will have Delaney follow up as soon as we get back to Condon
I
about
think
getting
they'll be fine
the
when
four
they
of us into a,
pull that out of there. They'll be fine anyway, Leah.
yeah.
Okay,
What's
thank you.
that?
They'll be fine anyway when they just pull the fire suppression system out. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else on this one? Okay, let's move on.
Thank you for the update on Summit Springs
Yeah.
anyway.
You're welcome. Yeah. You bet.
You guys are
Good-
doing
good-
excellent.
Good job. I mean, really.
Kind of pulled it
Guys,
back from
thank
the break.
goodness, guys, well, you will know, it's just getting a good administrator. That was the bottom line, yeah.
I-
And she's a dandy.
I do feel like you guys pulled it back from the brink though. It was on thin ice there for a little
Yeah,
bit.
very much was. Well, we had our doors closed there for a while.
Yeah.
It was a bad deal. Yes, thank you.
Good work I think is what we're saying.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, do you have?
I think we came in late. Did you approve the grants for the 23?
We haven't done we just did the operational support approval, yes.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
just want to be late.
So one of them is for your school district.
yeah, we just approved the school district's operational support grant. And then the capital investment grant is in review still.
Okay, so review.
It'll be coming hopefully soon. Okay, moving on, consider approval of compensation rates for Gilliam County interns and fill-in employees. So this is basically housekeeping, but every year, we, especially now that minimum wage is climbing annually, we set the compensation rates for our interns. So we have high school and college students who come either during the summer and sometimes during spring break and things like that, and help out some of our departments. And then in addition, we have a rate that we set for fill-in employees. And this has confused people in the past. So our fill-in employees, we have, for instance, in the clerk's office, there's a statutory requirement that that office has to be open certain hours every week. And so when there's a conference or sickness, illness in that office, Ellen and Dawn need somebody in that office to actually keep it open. And then the assessor's office occasionally uses someone when they're out on conference, and sheriff's office occasionally uses one when Chris has been gone. So this is basically the rate for those folks who usually are filling in like a day or two at a time, sometimes a week, just to make sure that the offices that have to be statutorily open remain open.
What's the minimum wage going to? That'll be July 1st, won't it?
1320. And this is also, what we set for our interns is also what our summer work experience program, we pay it out to the businesses, for them. This is what the OIC kids fall under as well, would be that, minimum wage, 1320 if approved. And so all of our interns in every department will be paid this 1320. We've had some issues in the past with the various departments paying the interns at a different rate. And so this will set that rate for all interns in the department within the county to be that 1320.
And then what we've been doing is we have set the fill-in employees about $1 above minimum wage. And so we'll kind of see, like, as minimum wage continues to increase, if we need to do that on the fill-in side. But given that these folks typically are working, maybe 6 days a year, I mean, it's not a lot. Getting them to say, yes, I'll come in, we need to at least offer a rate that is worth their while. A lot of folks, they're retirees who come in and answer the phones for us, and it's very valuable, but they may decide it's not worth their time if we don't compensate at a level that encourages them to come in and help. Questions?
So it's went from 1350 to 420.
1420 for the fill-in.
Okay.
And then from 12, currently minimum wage is $12.50, and it will go up to $13.20, July 1st.
Okay. Yeah, so typically you were like a dollar more for the fill-ins.
Mhm.
Yeah. In the future, of minimum wage, it's kind of dependent on, there's a formula they're going to use to calculate it from now on, so there's no clear, like, this time next year, it'll be $13.50 or anything like that, so it's just kind of.
Well, and weren't they for a while, like updating it like every 6 months? So,
And so now it
Yeah.
just depends.
And there's like 3 minimum wages in the state of Oregon, so if you're in the metro area, it's different
Yeah.
than if you're in the eastern.
Or at the
Yeah, there's
low
like
end.
metro, non-metro, and rural, something like that.
So,
so
Yeah, I
if they
think Marshall
update it,
County falls into a higher rate than we do here.
so if they have another update, we may have to revisit this
Next
in
year.
6 months from now.
No, it's they do it every year, so it's not every 6 months, it
Okay.
was always done on July 1st.
Yep,
So we have a year before we would have
that
to.
was a law that went into effect about 5 years ago.
so we'll just plan on it, the same as when we have to update the salary schedules every year. This is part of the updating of
Yeah.
of the salary schedules.
So I
Okay.
moved to set the hourly compensation rate for interns at $13.20 and the hourly compensation rate for felon employees at $14.20, effective July 1st, 2023.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded that we set the hourly compensation rate for interns at $13.20 and the hourly compensation rate for fill-in employees at $14.20 effective July 1st, 2023. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, one last one. Put that down. This is 6.3, which we just added to the agenda, which is consider approval of letter of recommendation for waste management. Delaney, do you?
I need to recuse from this as my wife is an employee at Waste Management. I have a potential, I'm not gonna call it an actual because they have hired a replacement. Potential.
Got it. Delaney, you want to take this?
Yes, so Waste Management is bidding on a waste disposal for Columbia Ridge contract with Skagit. I don't know how, Skagit? County, I think so.
I think, is it Skagit?
Skagit, there we go. That sounds. much
Can't
more-
pronounce a lot of things, but
No, in Washington, and they have reached out asking for a letter of support, or I'm calling it a letter of recommendation, of their service that we have with them. We worked together to draft this letter here, and so I'm just seeing if the court would be amenable to signing it and sending it off.
I would like to make sure that I go on there for their county to look at recused due to conflict. So that they know I didn't just was against it.
Got it.
In the minutes, or,
No, just maybe put on the signature page, just,
or would you just not like to sign the letter based off of
I
that?
do not, I just think it would look better for their county commissioners if there was a
So,
reason I didn't sign it.
so how about this? How about we just amend this and at the top,
Yeah, we do
just
that.
say on behalf of the Gilliam County Court and just have me be the signer?
That's,
Is that cleaner?
yep, that's clear.
Okay, perfect.
And then that way there's not a, why did somebody not?
Yeah,
yeah,
I
like,
just think that, they're trying to get this nailed down. Yeah.
So we'll just amend it to have that first sentence be on behalf of the Gilliam County Court.
Mhm. Understand.
Yeah, I understand.
do we need a motion to approve this?
Yes,
Okay, so I move to approve the letter of recommendation from Waste Management to Skagit County on behalf of Gilliam County Court.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the letter of recommendation for waste management to Skagit.
I'm saying Skagit.
Is
Yeah,
Skagit?
Skagit. I'm pretty sure that sounds much more official than my hearing on it.
From Gilliam County on behalf of the Gilliam County Court, as amended. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and Commissioner Shannon, abstained or was recused. Okay. Delaney knows all the terminology because we talked to legal counsel about all that.
All the recused, abstained.
Okay, let's move into 7.0, which is announcements and next meeting. Next meeting is going to be June 7th in the courthouse in Condon. A couple of important things to note that it will be on that agenda. We will be hopefully, assuming there's no hiccups, passing the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. This is last call if you have a comment on that budget process before it becomes final. We are also anticipating a budget,
A resolution,
a
a supplemental budget.
supplemental budget for the current fiscal year. I'm like, what is the words? The supplemental budget for the current fiscal year. So Nathan will come and have us clean up anything that we were off the mark on the current budget. So if you would like to weigh in on that, there will be hearings for both of those. Last call for both. We are also tentatively planning on taking up the enterprise zone redesignation that meeting. So there will be a meeting where we talk with the taxing districts, assuming all of that goes smoothly and everybody's on board. The plan is for that resolution to come up as well. So 3 big ticket items. Pay attention to those people who are listening. If you want to weigh in, it'll be a last call for all of those.
Next regular meeting.
That's the next regular meeting.
The enterprise zone discussion though will be Monday.
Right.
And assuming that, I mean, if something goes sideways on that, we can always push that off until the second meeting. But for right now, we're tentatively planning on that being coming up the first meeting in June. Pat, what do you got going on?
Well, I attended via Zoom the AOC committee meetings this last week and met with Superintendent Johnson at the Arlington School District. Went to CWCD board meeting same day, last Tuesday. And Miranda set up a meeting with Jeff Schott where I discussed with him the EV charging and have that moving forward for Conan. I need to sit down with Catherine and talk to her a little bit how that's can tie in with the access through the city of Conan property. And prayer last Friday, Oregon Caucus called yesterday morning to hear about the walkout. And that's it.
Fun times. Leah, what do you got going on?
So I have been attending multiple meetings with the South Gilliam County Health District. They're moving ahead with trying to hire an interim administrator. And they're gonna get the special districts to help them draft all that. So, and then when they do the search, we may be seeing something through special projects for their search. But otherwise, the staff up there is doing business as usual. So I think Dr. Edwards was there today. So there's a lot going on there. We'll have our budget meeting whenever they have the first meeting or in June, like June 1st or something. June 1st, a Monday. Anyway, they're gonna have their budget meeting then. They got a full budget committee to sit through it, so. And then what else? Seems like that's mostly what I've been doing. Just a little good news thing. Naya had to wait a little bit to get her ADA vehicle and ended up, I think, paying about $5,000 less than, so.
Yeah.
That was good. And then what else? Went to the STIF meeting. Other than that.
Lots of meetings.
I do have
Sitting through
a
interviews.
Norcor budget meeting and board meeting.
Yeah, lots of budget stuff happening. So for me, Frontier Telenet, their budget committee met last week. That went smoothly. There is some talk about making sure that they are capturing or being creative about capturing Jefferson County's costs, not just up to the PSAP, but also on the network. And so there's some talk about when they're invoicing 911 for connectivity, that they are breaking out the specific costs that Jefferson County has added to the system, because on the 911 side, Jefferson County is pushing back on paying what the rest of the counties feel is their fair share. And so there's some back and forth with Jeff Rasmussen, who's the administrator in Jefferson County, about why they need to pay what they're paying. And so part of that is also making sure that they're picking up the cost on the network side, because as you guys know, and we have been trying to educate Jefferson County on, we pay out of the general fund a contribution directly to Telenet for our connectivity. Jefferson County does not do that.
Right.
So they are basically accessing the network that we built, we collectively, 3 little counties, for free. And so we're trying to rectify that to help stabilize Frontier Telenet's finances, to make sure that all of the counties are paying.
Oh, that would be good. That would settle a lot of things.
Yes. So there was some talk about them when Brenda does the invoices to specifically break out Jefferson County's cost where we can, so that we can take that directly out of Jefferson County's user fees. Because right now it's an invoice that goes straight to 911. It doesn't break out by county the cost.
And then 911 just keeps it.
911 passes the money through.
Passes it through.
But each of the 4 counties' 911 dollars are paying that amount. So we're paying out of our general fund on the one side, and then our 911 dollars are coming through. And so we're paying twice, and Jefferson County is paying once. And so we're asking them to pay a little bit more through 911. So
What's
that,
a little bit more?
well, they're trying to figure out, there's several circuits right now that are only for Jefferson County. The switch, they connected to our switch. So the big drivers in the Frontier 911 or Frontier Telenet budget are Day Wireless and the Motorola SUA, which is basically the contract. It's complicated, but we have a digital switch that allows people with different kinds of radios to talk to each other, and the switch converts traffic back and forth. So so that all your radios within the 4 counties can speak to each other and to the dispatch center. The 3 counties made the initial investment to buy that, which was several $1 million. And then the SUA every year is about a little over $250,000. So the 3 counties are splitting the cost right now for that SUA. Jefferson County is not paying toward it, even though they are utilizing it in order for their radios to connect to 911. So I suspect, like, the number's probably north of 150,000.
That's going to be based on how much that's used
No, that's just looking at
straight.
if we split it 4 ways.
Yeah.
That doesn't even get into the fact that 87% of the traffic that's flowing through that system is coming from Jefferson County. So that's not even, we're not even talking parity on like
Right.
investment versus usage. We're just trying to get them equal to what we're investing, just as a split it by 4.
So is there going to be a lot of resistance?
Well, have you met Jeff Rasmussen?
Yeah, I have. I just wondering if,
I've just heard him speak.
are there any commissioners involved in that?
So Kelly Simulink is the Jefferson County person on the board. He has not said a lot. Their sheriff has been more vocal, but I sort of explained like how much money we pay out of the general fund, and that appeared to be news to them. So when I said that, then Jeff asked for me to send all the breakdowns of everything we've sent out of our general fund to support. And I think that I have not seen a lot more traffic pushing back on there once they kind of realized that maybe they were getting a free ride on the
We
network
might
side.
maybe need to get fair here.
Yeah, so that's to be determined. The Frontier 911 budget stuff, I think, is coming up in mid-June. So folks who are interested in that conversation will
So
want to
that'll all
listen
be
to that.
resolved by the time you go through budget.
Yeah, so they've already drafted the initial budget. The budget committee did meet, and the board, I think, approves it on the 13th, is that right? Of June. So we'll see how much pushback we get from Jefferson County. Speaking of 911, I believe, I think it's public, that we have a new director. Gary was able to, we had a meet and greet a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, with a candidate. And I believe that they have an agreement. They reached an employment agreement. So I think she is actually on her way, literally moving from Kansas as we speak. And I'm thinking will likely be, she has to obviously go through all the background checks and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're targeting for her to be actually at work probably mid-June, once everything goes through. So that is moving forward. She appears to be very competent. So I'm excited that they were able to find her, and I'm sure Gary is happy to not be the interim anymore.
Yeah, because I think according to the paper, that fell through.
It didn't, well, she had a competing job offer and the board met to decide whether it wanted to try to land her anyway, and they decided to do that rather than open it up. And so we went back and countered to her and she accepted.
Good, good.
So it did not fall through. It almost did, but Gary saved it. So it sounds like assuming everything clears on the background check, which she's currently in this job in Kansas, so I don't think there's going to be any problems. Then she'll be here. So, let me see what else is going on. I am continuing to sit on a certified childcare center rural advisory committee. So rewriting all of the rules for right now, it would only affect Condon because Arlington is licensed through a different, through family-based. But basically trying to rewrite the rules so that there's a little bit more flexibility for when teachers can start and all kinds of things. Let me see what else is happening.
There are a lot of counties on that.
No, I'm the only one. The only one that's a county representative. There were 130 some people that applied, and there were 16 of us that were selected, and I think 3 from Eastern Oregon. There was me, and then I want to say the director of the Eastern Oregon Early Learning Hub out of like probably LeGrand, Pendleton, and then I can't remember the other one. But it's kind of quite a few urban folks, but there's some South Coast people and a few Central Oregon people, and then 3 Eastern Oregon people.
The good mix.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation so far. Hopefully they make some good changes. Let me see, what else?
So let me ask you that, the scuttlebutt on the street is that the Condon childcare will be shut down over the summer. Is that any truth to that?
It is possible the preschool room will be.
Okay,
So the, for ratios, they need to have, they need to have at least 1 qualified teacher in the classroom, and 1 is on maternity leave, all summer. The lead teacher, just accepted a job with the school district and gave notice for early June. And I think originally they were hoping that she would stay during the summer. She has opted not to, which means they don't have a qualified teacher in the room. And they don't have enough teachers in the center to rotate an infant toddler teacher over. So the infant toddler room for right now will be open, and they're looking for someone who has credentials to be a teacher basically during the summer.
Do they have
And
a
I
big
know that-
requirement for preschool other than,
They had a board meeting last night that they were talking about some creative ideas, and I haven't heard what outcome came of that board meeting, but the board was meeting to try to come up with some solutions to keep that room open.
because the preschool in the summer would probably be more of a babysitting
It still
situation?
falls under those same
Okay.
requirements though for your teachers. and
I
stuff.
understand, but it would actually be more of a place to take kids for
Yeah, so
There would be
there.
so much schooling in it.
There's talk of maybe having a possible retired teacher if they just want to come in, because I believe, if I remember correctly, the staff on maternity leave comes back at the end of June. So really it would be July-ish that she'd be back on, so they'd have one qualified teacher there. So it's just trying to figure out.
How about,
Yes, ma'am.
well, their decision, but a teacher that's not working during the summer.
And that's what that's one of their other approaches that they're looking at. So they have a couple solutions they're looking at. So I'm hopeful that they will be able to figure something out.
But here's what's tricky. Is that, believe it or not, the requirements in that preschool room per degree are higher than the requirements on the school district side.
You need to fix that in your rule.
You have to have, in order for them to be qualified in the preschool room, they have to have an early childhood education degree. And so even some of the elementary school teachers that are on the school district side, if it's not an early childhood, then, which they can be on the school district side, they have more options.
Are you working on that on the rule change?
Well,
Rule writing?
some of it, yes. Like the rule change is gonna lower the qualifications for a teacher, which will be a huge help to Janine, definitely getting them in. But those won't go into effect until January 1. And so for the summer, we're looking for, we're hoping there may be a school district teacher who does have that certification and is willing to kind of help out the community and provide gap care, basically. Otherwise, I think it's probably going to be, we may see closure at the beginning of the summer, and maybe they're able to open it toward the end. They're actively recruiting. So there's also the possibility they can land somebody new coming in. But yes, you are correct in that, for now, until they get a qualified teacher, they're not going to be able to run the preschool room.
So the program in the park that they're looking at doing, what age
It will be
kids?
kindergarten, school age.
School age, so kindergarten through
It will be,
8th grade or?
Yeah.
Okay,
So there'll still be a gap for the 3 and 4 year olds, basically.
but that's a good deal for those kids that are
Oh, yeah.
K through 8.
Yeah, there's lots of partners who are stepping up to try to fill gaps right now, which is
Yeah.
really good. It's just a weird thing where we had 2 teachers, one who's leaving and one
One
who had a
farmer
baby.
out, and another one started.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, I reached out to Janine, obviously Ainsley goes there, so I see her regularly, and I think they're trying to come up with a solution, but it is hard because you can't even just take a teacher out of the district and put them in there if they don't have the right degree. They can't. So I was encouraging them to go ask if like Laura Harson has it. I'm sure she wants to retire, but maybe she can give us a few more months. Let me see. Other than that,
Surely she will.
yeah, I don't know why she wouldn't want to. Let me just see if there's anything else. There is a Frontier Telenet. The final approval of that budget is going to be on June 5th. That will be in Condon. I also wanted to put in a plug that the city of Condon has they have put together the board training that we were discussing. That is scheduled for June 1st at 5:30 at Memorial Hall. And
I might have a conflict.
Catherine is asking for folks to RSVP, I think by the end of this week, 25th, the 25th. So if you are on a board or know a board member who could benefit from a refresher on public meeting law, public records law, and ethics, it's going to be a nice little 2-hour thing. And I think she said we already have like 26, 27 people who've RSVP'd. So there's good turnout already, but everyone
we are
please
providing
consider it.
dinner.
Yes.
And I think some of the ones that were on the South Gilliam Health District were gonna
Well,
attend.
maybe the north too.
Let me see if there's anything else. I think that is it. Anything else for the good of the order?
No, I forgot to add that we're on the way to County College again
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
almost done though.
Well, I was thinking I had something to add to the agenda, but with my back surgery and everything, I have not been able to remember what it was.
Oh, well, next time. Do either of you guys have anything? Oh, one other plug, last plug is that we are accepting applications for the summer work experience program. And also reaching out to employers who host our youth, which is super important. So deadlines for both are coming up. For the kiddos, it's next week, and we'd like to hear from employers about on that time frame as well. So
Can I just make a comment about that?
yeah.
In the past, we've had youth work for the school district.
Mhm.
And what has transpired is we have to pull a maintenance person to supervise the kids. And becomes more of a, I think I'm a product of those programs myself, but to have. We were shorthanded when we pull a staff member to supervise, and if we're not supervising,
You don't get much.
if that's generous. And so, and for safety and other, so we're looking at maybe not being involved in that because I don't have someone that I can direct and supervise these kids. And it's when you come in and they're supposed to be working, they're sleeping or and what my suggestion, I'm just making a comment here. If we could hire someone as a lead that paid them a little bit more, they give them a little more so we can get our stuff done and not have to supervise these kids, it would be helpful. That's just a comment.
Okay, that's good feedback.
And then one more deadline that is coming up, our special projects grants for the north and south, those are both due by May 25th. So if you have an entity that qualifies that has a special projects grant, this is for our community events, our community innovation projects, and small capital investments. Make sure they turn that in by next Thursday.
Lots of deadlines. Anything else? Miranda, do you have anything? All right, there's nothing else for the good of the order. It is 11:23 and I will adjourn the meeting.